Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. I love to do tactical previews on the big games in the Premier League, and there are two absolute belters this week, and I'm going to be doing exactly that. First up here in the Chelsea versus Man City game at Stamford Bridge, I'm going to give you a tactical preview here. We're going to break down what is going to be the key area, which I believe is going to be the midfield battle between these two teams. But I'm also going to be doing a Arsenal versus Spurs tactical preview as well. Loads of uploads for you guys. So if you do enjoy this kind of content and you want me to do more of it, it's one of those where the shelf life's not always the best. So if you can help me out, first of all, if you enjoy this video by the end, hit the subscribe button. But importantly, smash that like button for me as well, because it will give the video a chance. Right, let's dive into this, because first of all, you've got to talk about Pep versus Tuchel, because there is a narrative circling around these two very charismatic managers, two managers that tactically are elite, and two managers that like to think and tinker quite a lot, which is absolutely fine, but it's what makes this game so fascinating for me as well. Now, Tuchel, the first two times he managed against Pep Guardiola, he lost it on aggregate 6-1, but that was for Mainz. So, he then moves on to Dortmund. First game he plays against Bayern Munich and Pep Guardiola as the head coach of Dortmund, they lose 5-1. But after that, the next time they played, they drew 0-0. Since that day, the 5th of March 2016, where Tuchel got that first point against Guardiola, he's got 3 wins out of 3. And it's partly down to Tuchel, of course it is, and the Champions League, I think, highlights that, and we can have a look at some of the tactical elements of those previous games. But part of it's down to Pep Guardiola and his tinkering. It really is. I'm not doubting that he is one of the greatest managers of all time. But what makes him so brilliant is how in-depth he can think about things and his bravery to go and change them. And often we only focus on when it goes wrong as opposed to when it goes right. In those last 3 games, you had the FA Cup semi-final. There were a lot of changes made for that one. In the game in the league that they lost to Chelsea, they decided to play a back 3, which I think was mind games at the time, in the lead up to this game, which was the Champions League final, of course. And the big change there was that there was no Fernandinho, there was no Rodri, and Gundogan played at the base of the midfield, despite being electric all season in terms of his ability to get in the box and score goals. And it allowed Mason Mount, Timo Werner and Havertz to have great games, but to play vertically and to get through the team. And look, Man City dominated the game, of course, but they were defensively incredibly resolute. Kante had one of the games of his life. And in that goal that they scored, it was the movement of Werner dragging players out. It was Mount getting on the ball and then being able to play the pass, as we remember it, through to Havertz here. And of course, he slotted it. What picture's that? So that central area was an area where Chelsea were able to get enough joy to get themselves a fully deserved victory and made them champions of Europe. Let's fast forward a little bit. And we spoke about it earlier in the week in the Fallout, which is a video I do most Mondays, ideally every single Monday, just sort of rattling through a lot of the teams and seeing the different kind of insights that have come from the games tactically. So join me on Monday if you want to check that out. But in the game at the last weekend, Man City played Southampton. What was interesting from that, and it was stats that we didn't have at the time, but now, of course, we do, was that Southampton were able to stunt Man City a little bit, of course, got themselves a draw out of the game, but they were also kind of playing 4-on-4 because they played 2 centre forwards in this game. Adam Armstrong, and Che Adams. And we know with Southampton, they like to play that 4-2-2-2 when they attack. And again, vertically through the middle and looking to isolate Man City, who, as you can see here, Fernandinho there, they were looking to sort of push them back, which happened with these 2 centre-backs. So that's also a kind of shape that you'll see generally with the possession that Man City will dominate with in games. But there's a very clear area here that in transition, if you are playing 4-2-2-2, where you can overload in these areas, right? If you've got these 2 players here, you can also stop the flow of passing to that DM, be it Rodri or be it Fernandinho. And the stat that was really interesting and something that we just never see is that Man City made 39 clearances against Southampton. Southampton only made 22. So the deeper meaning of that is that Man City, the kings of playing out from the back, were forced hoof it, basically. The mix of playing those two centre forwards to stop the ball being played to Fernandinho, and then also the high average positions of the likes of Bernardo Silva, the likes of Gundogan, Grealish, and the like, meant that it was tricky for them to get the ball out, and so they were forced to play it a little bit longer. And this is something that maybe Chelsea would want to exploit, because I don't see Pep Guardiola making the same mistake and not playing a Fernandinho, or more likely a Rodri in this game. So when it comes to Chelsea then, in this chess match, you think, okay, so what is Tuchel going to do? Okay, because Tuchel's got some of the same options as last year, but what he will look to do is to stop the supply to Fernandinho or Rodri. Chelsea haven't been playing a front two, they've been playing a front three. It's been a very good front three. Mason Mount, Romelu Lukaku and Kai Havertz. The movement has been pretty fantastic. Havertz and Mason Mount not really scoring the goals just yet, but that's been left to Romelu Lukaku, and he's done that admirably. And what's interesting here, and I wanted to show you this, is that if we're thinking about stopping the passes into the DM and owning the centre of the pitch, which is where I believe this game will be won or lost, it's interesting. You've got Mason Mount, who's been playing as a right-sided inside forward. And you can see it on the heat map here. This is the game against Spurs. You've got Lukaku through the middle, of course. And you've got Havertz, who plays on this left-hand side a little bit more. The problem you have with this is this area here. That's not going to stop the flow. If the pressing is like out of this world, then fine. But if we're thinking about how Southampton were able to kind of stunt Man City, then maybe there's a different route for them to take. Now, in the last game and so far this season, it's been a lot of Kovacic and Jorginho with a 3-4-3. But I wonder if there's a different option here. Because if you take away these players, and again, look, let's just take away all three of those. Let's bring in Kante. Kante, and this is in half of a game. That area there, you can see it. He can sit on Fernandinho, not literally, that'd be ridiculous. And he can really cause havoc and stop the opposition. The question you then have after that when it comes to this midfield battle is the fact that what happens with De Bruyne, what happens with those other players. But this is what I mean. It is a chess match. I go back to it again. If you don't play Kante and you play Kovacic and Jorginho, they're going to sit in the midfield too. If you play Kante and play him in a similar role that he played previously, then you might have a better way of dominating the centre of the pitch and playing a lot more vertically. Because with Lukaku, Mount and Havertz, there is that area in the middle which is going to allow Man City to dictate the game. So, starting lineups. I know that's too many Man City players, don't worry. But there are a lot of options for Chelsea and for Man City to choose. First of all, it seems like Laporte seems to be starting. It'd be interesting to see if Stones kind of returns to it, but it feels like he's going with Laporte at the moment a lot of the time. I think Diaz normally plays on this side, doesn't he? Zinchenko or Cancelo. It's going to be interesting to see which one out of those two do they look to rely on. But it's the midfield areas and the front five that I'm just intrigued to see what he looks to do. Because one player that I think against the lesser sides, it feels like Guardiola seems to like him, and it's another thing that we spoke about at the start of the week, was the position of Bernardo Silva. Because with Bernardo Silva, he's actually been playing in a midfield three. Let me just take out De Bruyne and Fernandinho, because Gundogan's actually been playing a bit more on this right-hand side. You've been playing one up front, Jesus or Mahrez playing out there. Let's leave Mahrez out there for now. And Sterling or Grealish out on this side. And then you're playing the midfield three of Silva, Rodri and Gundogan. Now, when it comes to the average positions of these guys, and in particular Bernardo Silva, I think it's something that they like. They like that Bernardo Silva is kind of getting forward. But also, if you look at his heat map in particular, when he's getting on the ball, it's very clear that he's on that left-hand side. And if he is going to be going on and getting on that ball on that left-hand side, what does that mean for someone like Jorginho, who will inevitably, of course, play in this game? Who plays and how do they play? Because when we're talking about Bernardo Silva, if he continues to play in the way that he does, there's two things that are interesting to me. First of all, the fact that it's on this left-hand side, of course. And actually, in these big games between the two of them, Jorginho would look to help out on the left-hand side, or Chelsea's left-hand side, defensively. And he would leave all of that work, really, to Kante, the right-sided centre-back, and the right wing-back. I put James and Azpilicueta down here. But I wonder if Silva doesn't play in this game, because what it would allow is a lot of space in this area for someone like Jorginho, once you do get on the ball, to play the game vertically, which is what Chelsea will want to do. They want to counter-attack really quickly because it's what's worked brilliantly for them over the last few times that they've played each other. Will Silva even start in this game? Will he play on the right? This is the plethora of options that they always have. But of course, you've got to remember Kevin De Bruyne has got a big part to play in here. First of all, let me finish off what I think Man City will do. I think they will revert to type to a point. There's two options for me that they might have. They might want to do something where Grealish comes into midfield, De Bruyne plays as a false nine, and you work it that way, with Sterling looking to go and beyond. There might be another route where you get Gabriel Jesus, who's been fantastic, and he plays here. And again, it's another route to allowing the team to thrive. But it's, there's a lot of attacking intent here. You've also got Foden, who of course could come in and get involved as well. But I feel like there's a real threat here for De Bruyne on this right-hand side, where if you are looking for a weakness, and of course it's not in an attacking sense, because I think he's top 5 world wing-backs right now, going forward. 2.4 key passes per game, 2.97 shot creating actions per 90, which is in the top 10% in the top 5 leagues. 5.15 progressive passes received as well. It means he's just getting forward so much. But again, this is a game where Man City will dominate the ball. So will you be looking for Alonso to do what he has been doing in these other games, or will you looking for him to be a little bit more disciplined? And will Jesus be looking to try and pin him back a little bit more? Same goes with De Bruyne, because you know that Grealish is going to want to work down his left-hand side, as is Sterling. So I think this is the way that they'll look to line up. I think they'll do it this way, where De Bruyne can drop in and allow them to be a little bit better defensively, clog up the midfield a little bit more, and you've got Gundogan or Grealish who can come and pick up the ball as well. But the big thing will be for Chelsea what they do in the middle of midfield. And for me, I think there's something to be done here in terms of playing vertically and utilising Kante. Timo Werner has played in all 3 of those victories against Man City. And the great thing about him, of course, is that he stretches the play on that left side channel. And there's a nice little balance there between him and Lukaku, because Lukaku likes to go down that right-hand channel. And I just wonder if Kovacic and Jorginho will retain that pairing. But to stop that defensive midfielder getting on the ball and allowing the team to attack vertically, quickly, directly, but also allowing, quality players to thrive and hold up the ball if needs be, if one of Havertz or Mount make way. And there could be rumblings about Mount if it happens, but I wonder if this is one of those games where you play Jorginho and Kovacic, you allow Kante to almost be a defensive attacking midfielder to a point. And let's remember, 1 key pass when he came on, 40 touches in the game against Spurs, 88% pass success rate. 3 out of 3 of his long passes were great as well. He won 75% of his ground duels. He's such a complete player, and for a team that want to kind of dictate the game, him playing that little bit higher, I think could be an interesting way of playing it. That then lends to the idea that either Werner or Havertz could play in this area here. And it allows 2 really exciting playmakers to get on the ball and make passes. Lukaku to maybe work the channels. Werner maybe to work the channels a little bit more, or that sort of inside line. And it might mean that Walker gets pinned back a little bit. And it also means that Rodri will kind of get frozen a little bit, because if he comes here, then they're going to play around him. Kante's going to be on him all the time. And then you've got a good solid base behind that of players that are ready to kind of receive the ball and create chances, both on the counter-attack or if they're wanting to dominate possession. And again, once you lose the ball, you've still got a base of 5 to a point. Alonso can kind of get gallivant down this side. That's why I would also say that both from the attacking side of Sterling and Zinchenko and Grealish and Foden and whoever's going to be on this left-hand side, I think Azpilicueta and Reece James would be a good option, because essentially Azpilicueta, if you think of the sort of the way that Man City will attack, they will often kind of get to this position here and be facing goal, and Reece James will be dealing with a lot of it. But of course, you're essentially a sweeper there in that position. So I think that would be the good fit for Chelsea. And I'm intrigued. I'm really, really intrigued to see if they would give this a go, because Tuchel's not afraid to make those changes. And by playing very narrow, being able to move the ball quickly, that could be a really, really positive tactical aspect of this game for Chelsea, who, as we have said previously, have had their number. Final thing on the wing backs here. First of all, Alonso, can you get in behind there? Is that an area to exploit? Is there an area here as well where you maybe allow De Bruyne to kind of drop in here at times and allow Gundogan to make those breaking runs that he's so good at? That's another great option, which is just inevitable when it comes to Man City because they are so fluid in how they play. And finally, big game for Kyle Walker, because if Chelsea are as direct as I would expect them to be at times, then his recovery runs are going to be important. Nathan Ake, by the way, could play, you never know, instead of Laporte. Stones can't seem to get a game at the moment. I think it might be 1-4 Laporte up against Lukaku. But Kyle Walker, I think those kind of recovery runs, that understanding of when to step in here to help out Rodri from a defensive point of view. And on the other side of it, sometimes being able to kind of get back when they go down this right-hand side, he's got a massive, massive part to play as well. In terms of a prediction, I'm intrigued to see what De Bruyne does in terms of coming to the party. Not Thomas' party, the party. But I just wonder. I feel like this is one of those statement games for Chelsea. I think they'll be so organised. I think Tuchel is in Guardiola's head a little bit. I've got to be honest. And I feel like it, especially at Stamford Bridge with the fans back, I think this could be a real game changer where Man City have, over the years, have had moments where they, not Tuchel, but have destroyed Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But I don't see it happening this time. They're just too organised, in my opinion. And there's feel like there's too many players at times for Man City at the moment. They're still trying to find their kind of groove and the areas where everyone is excelling in their different positions. So I'm going to go with Chelsea for this one. I think Chelsea will win it. Will it be a shutout? Maybe not, but maybe a 2-1 victory. And with that quality that you've got with Lukaku up top, you're not going to squander those chances that you maybe have done in the past. Exciting times. I think this game is going to be, I've said it 5 times probably, it will be a chess match. So the one thing I would say to you guys watching the game is keep an eye on those substitutions and then see how that changes the game, because substitutions won't be done just for the sake of it. They will be done for very specific reasons. And of course, we'll dive into that on the other side of the weekend in the Fallout. Make sure you don't miss out on the Fallout. If you don't want to miss out, then hit the subscribe button. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking as well. And let me know who you would start in this game and what your predictions are down in the comments below. I'll see you soon. Make sure you don't miss out on my Arsenal, Spurs, North London derby preview as well, coming soon on the channel.